Welcome back to China Price Watch, where we're talking about China's rich, poor, and the gap in between. Average Chinese people don't need the Hurun rich list to know just how lavishly the rich live, and they certainly don't need statistics to see that a large part of the country remains in poverty. While China's coastal cities are centers of relative wealth, any trip to the countryside or China's interior reveals a very different way of life. China's renowned coastal cities are like a mask, presenting an opulent face to the outside world while covering up a much harsher reality throughout China's interior. Premier Wen Jiabao declared that according to the international standard of poverty, those living on less than $1.25 per day, China has more than 150 million impoverished citizens. That's more than 1/10 of the country and equal to half the population of the United States. Absolute poverty is much rarer in coastal cities, but even places like Beijing and Shanghai are home to millions of people who scrape by collecting bottles, cans, and cardboard for a living. Glaring inequality is obvious based on simple observations, but what about an objective statistical measure of income inequality? For much of the world, that measurement is the Gini coefficient, but in China, an accurate reading is impossible to come by. The Gini coefficient measures income inequality, with 0 representing perfect equality and 1 being a country where a single person owns all the wealth. For years, China has refused to release national data on the country's Gini coefficient. The National Bureau of Statistics cites 2 obstacles: different data sets from urban and rural surveys, and the difficulty in obtaining accurate information from China's wealthy households. Advocates and analysts have long scoffed at these reasons, claiming that the government simply refuses to own up to China's increasing inequality. Groups from the World Bank to Chinese think tanks to the CIA have all released estimates ranging from 0.425 to 0.48. Those numbers would make China as or more unequal than the United States, which usually ranks between 0.4 and 0.45. But when looked at in context, the government's claims that it can't obtain accurate information on the wealthy is not that far-fetched. Given the unsavory and illegal ways that many Chinese millionaires amass their wealth, few are willing to disclose their income. On top of this, many wealthy Chinese, including public officials, are moving their money overseas both to hide it and to safeguard it from economic turbulence. These factors make accurate accounting a headache, if not an impossibility, for the Statistics Bureau. Still, in a bold move, the now disgraced former leader of Chongqing, Bo Xilai, publicly released data on the Gini coefficient that he said came from the Bureau. Bo claimed that China's Gini coefficient was 0.469 and warned that the number could spell trouble if not addressed. The populist official declared, quote, "The road of shared prosperity is the core value of our socialist system. We must encourage competition while admitting to the income gap in our society and valuing social equality, including the livelihood of middle and low-income groups." Bo's neo-Maoist campaigns and attempts to galvanize Chinese people around the issues of social fairness made him appear as a threat to the party. Now, 6 months later, he stands trial after the fallout from the biggest political scandal in a generation. In this light, the tug-of-war over the Gini coefficient may be of more interest to foreign observers and political scientists. In essence, the social unrest that troubles the party is likely to come from people who don't even know what the Gini coefficient is. A number of 0.46 or 0.38 or 0.58 means nothing to people living on the fringes of society. Instead, it's their ability or inability to make ends meet that matters. And the presence of so much wealth around them only adds fuel to the fire. Don't go away, because up next we get Beijingers' take on the gap between rich and poor. Stay tuned.